Hi, it's Becky. If you're a Storyline user, you know how markers are typically used in Storyline. When learners hover over a marker, they'll see title information, and when they click, they see more text and content. Well, I was working on a lesson recently where I wanted the look and feel of the markers themselves, but I didn't want to have the text. I just really wanted them to highlight content. So take a look here and listen. You're not going to hear the audio really well, but listen and look.
This image shows the current layers of security used by TSA to secure the aviation transportation system. These layers include gathering intelligence about travelers, detecting suspicious behaviors at airports, screening checked baggage.
So you can see that the markers are synchronized to come in with the narration. They enter in red with a swirl, and when the associated portion of the narration is finished, the markers turn black and stop animating. Watch and listen if you can again.
Random employee screening, and training flight crews to deal with potential threats. Most of us are not familiar.
So here's how this works. Let me come down to this slide, and the first thing that I'm going to do is to insert a marker. And I used that down arrow because that's the look that I wanted for my particular slide. So I'm just going to scoot this over a little bit and move it down. Now I'm going to come up to the Format Markers tab, and I'm going to change this to black. That was the color that I happen to like for this. And over here, I'm going to say Audio Only under Marker Options, and I don't want to swirl. There is going to be nothing going on here except for the animation, which when it comes in is going to grow, and it's going to grow very slow. So that's my first state. I actually need two states for this marker, so I'm going to duplicate it by pressing Control D, and I'm going to come up to the Marker Format tab. The first thing I want to do is change this second state to red, and I'm going to scoot this up, and I'm just using my keyboard right now to get it into position, but if I were doing this for real, I would use the Format Shapes dialog box to make the positioning precise. Again, I want this to be audio only, but this time there's going to be a swirl when the red comes in. Over here under animations, I would like this to fade in very slow, and actually for the exit animation, I'm going to have it spin and shrink, and that's going to happen medium. So that's all set. I have it set for the state, but now I need to make the state. So what I'm going to do is to Control X to cut it here, click on that original marker, come over to states. Remember I said I want a new state, so edit states, and my new state is going to be swirl. That's what I'm going to call it, and I'll click on add. Now that state is highlighted, it's active, so while I'm editing, I'm going to come in here and delete the black marker. That's not what I want. Press Control V, and that will insert that red swirly marker. Now I'm done editing the states, except that I need to come over here and change that initial state to hidden, because you'll remember that marker doesn't come in initially. Well, how do we get it to come in? And it comes in automatically. We're going to do that by inserting a shape. I'm just going to grab a little rectangle here, and that shape is going to be coming in on the timeline at 2 seconds. The marker is going to be triggered from this rectangle. He's going to come in at 2 seconds, and it's actually going to, whoops, I don't need to change the timeline, I just need to change the marker timing. There we are, it's at 5 seconds. So what's going to happen is I'm going to insert a trigger that's going to change the state of the marker, and I want it to be swirl when the timeline starts for that rectangle. And you remember down here on the timeline, that's at 2 seconds. Now we also need to change states, so I'm going to duplicate this trigger. It's just faster to do that. And we're going to change the state of the marker shape to normal when the timeline ends for that rectangle. And I'll come right over here and click on that, and then OK. Let's preview and see if this is doing what it's supposed to do. What it's supposed to do is nothing initially, and then it's supposed to swirl in at 2 seconds in red, and then around 5 seconds it's supposed to change to black. So there you have it. That's how to use markers in atypical fashion to highlight content in Articulate Storyline.